Picture this scenario. It's 5.42 on a freezing Monday morning just outside Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, that is early.
And cold, very cold. You're walking into your exhausting early shift factory job. The sun isn't even up yet. The wind is just biting. And you're really only focused on getting through those front doors.
Right. You just want to get inside of the heat.
Exactly. But right there, tucked behind a parked delivery truck to block the wind, you see an 8-year-old girl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She's sitting on the freezing concrete curb in nothing but like a thin school jacket. And in her lap, a 5-year-old boy is fast asleep.
I mean, that image alone just violently disrupts the mundane routine of a daily commute. You
It
know,
really does.
it forces an immediate visceral reaction.
It absolutely stalks you in your tracks. But it actually gets stranger.
How so?
Well, sitting next to this little girl is a plastic grocery bag. Inside, there's just a juice box, some kids' pajamas, an inhaler, and your name.
Wait, your name?
Yes, your specific name, written in a thick black marker right on the plastic bag.
Oh, man, that is so unsettling.
Right. So naturally, you rush over, you ask her where her parents are, trying to figure out what happened, but she doesn't answer your question.
She just ignores it.
Not exactly. She looks up at you with this intense desperation and says, "Mister, can you pretend to be my dad until my little brother wakes up?"
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Which is, a profound departure from how a child usually responds to a crisis.
Yeah, it really is.
It signals a totally different set of priorities going on in her head right then.
Absolutely. And when you ask her why she wants you to do that, she whispers, "Because he thinks our mom is coming back."
Wow.
Yeah.
That just hits you right in the chest.
It really does. Today, we are taking a deep dive into a remarkable stack of sources that orbit this exact scenario. We're unpacking a brilliantly detailed piece of narrative fiction, but we are combining it with sociological studies on workplace coercion and clinical psychological notes on childhood trauma.
And our goal here isn't just to recap a story with some heavy plot twists.
Right, definitely not.
We are using these sources to explore the complex mechanics of moral compromise. We're going to examine the hidden psychological burdens we pass down to the next generation and ultimately deconstruct our conventional definitions of what everyday courage actually requires.
Yeah, so whether you are a parent trying to shield your kids, someone grinding away at a job with questionable practices, or just a person navigating a world that constantly demands impossible choices, this deep dive is going to challenge your baseline assumptions about what it means to actually do the right thing.
I think especially as we get older, we start reflecting a lot on the legacies we leave for our families. This story really cuts to the heart of that.
It really does. So let's ground ourselves in the immediate aftermath of that freezing morning. The man who actually finds these kids is Marcus Reed.
Okay, Marcus.
Yeah. He's 38 years old, a widowed single father, and he works as a maintenance tech in this food packaging plant.
So he's working a tough job himself.
Oh, absolutely. He's exhausted from the grind of single parenthood, but he is a deeply dependable guy. He doesn't panic. He just gets these two kids, Aaliyah and her little brother Isaiah, out of the biting wind and into the warm security lobby of the factory.
Right. He provides the immediate biological necessities, right?
Yeah.
Warmth and safety.
Mm-hmm.
He's simply the first capable adult who doesn't just walk past them.
Exactly. But the glaring mystery is that grocery bag. Out of everyone in that massive factory, why was Marcus targeted?
Right. What made him the chosen one for this?
Well, once they are inside, Aaliyah pulls a folded envelope out of her thin jacket. It's marked clearly, for Marcus Reed only.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and when Marcus asks her about it, she tells him, "Mom said you fix things nobody else wants to fix."
Which is so interesting because from Marcus's perspective as a maintenance technician, he processes that statement literally.
Right, like physical machines.
Exactly. He spends his days repairing neglected conveyor belts and failing elevators. He assumes this is about broken machinery.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the psychological notes in our sources really illuminate what happens next.
Yeah, this part is crucial.
While Marcus is staring at this envelope, the little boy, Isaiah, starts having a severe coughing fit. Aaliyah immediately goes into a panic, but not the kind of panic you expect.
What do you mean?
She starts apologizing profusely to Marcus. She says, "Sorry he's coughing. Sorry we are taking your time. Sorry we came here."
Oh, that breaks your heart.
Reading through that interaction was just deeply unsettling. I kept thinking of it as an invisible backpack.
An invisible backpack. I like that analogy.
Yeah, it's like these children are carrying around this crushing, unseen weight of adult anxieties, terrified that taking up even an inch of space will cause the adults around them to crumble.
The invisible backpack is a highly accurate way to visualize it. In clinical psychology, specifically when looking at children raised in environments of severe scarcity or chronic caregiver stress, we see a phenomenon called parentification.
Parentification.
Right, or hypervigilance. The child's developing brain recognizes that their primary caregiver is overwhelmed, perhaps operating on the edge of financial or emotional ruin.
So they sense the danger, basically.
Yes. Subconsciously, the child calculates that any additional stress could break the system entirely, which would lead to their own abandonment.
Wow.
So their survival strategy becomes total self-erasure. They decide the only way to remain safe is to be entirely zero maintenance.
Zero maintenance. They shrink their physical and emotional footprint to absolutely nothing.
Precisely. They suppress natural childhood needs. And we see the tragedy of this when Marcus tells Aaliyah that she never has to apologize for needing help.
Right, he tries to reassure her.
He does, but her response cuts right to the bone. She says, "Mom says that too, but people get mad when you need too much."
That is just, wow. And that specific line forces Marcus to experience a terrifying realization about his own life.
Yeah, it really holds up a mirror for him.
Because he has an 11-year-old daughter named Nia, his wife passed away 4 years ago, leaving Marcus to navigate his immense grief while desperately trying to keep them financially afloat.
So he's carrying his own massive burden.
Huge burden. And he starts looking at his own daughter's behavior through this new, harsh lens. He realizes Nia operates exactly like Aaliyah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, she turns down school field trips without even being asked. She claims her old shoes fit perfectly fine when her toes are clearly cramped.
Because she knows money is tight.
Exactly. Marcus had spent years congratulating himself for successfully shielding Nia from his financial terror, but this moment shatters that illusion.
Right, Nia hadn't been shielded at all.
Not one bit. She had just been quietly reading the room. She was wearing her own invisible backpack, managing his stress by pretending she didn't have any needs.
It really highlights a critical misunderstanding in parenting, especially for those of us who have raised kids. Adults often think if they don't explicitly talk about their stress, children won't feel it.
Like if we just keep a brave face, they won't know.
Exactly. But children are emotional barometers. They feel the atmospheric pressure of the household, even if they don't understand the weather patterns causing it.
That reframes the entire dynamic. The guilt Marcus feels in that lobby is just palpable. So he finally tears open the envelope, expecting a plea for money or shelter.
But it's not that at all, is it?
No. Instead, it's a letter from Aaliyah's mother, Denise, who used to work as a night cleaner at the factory for a third-party subcontractor. It's an apology, but also a frantic, whistleblowing document.
What did she find?
Denise had stumbled onto something massive. There was a faulty industrial refrigeration system leaking chemical fumes into an isolated section of the factory.
Oh, that's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, the temporary workers were developing chronic respiratory issues. But instead of fixing it, factory management was just quietly rotating the sick workers out and bringing fresh bodies in to keep the production quotas high.
Our sociological sources on corporate negligence map perfectly onto this scenario. Management is performing a cold, calculated cost-benefit analysis.
Right, profits over people.
Exactly. The cost of rotating easily replaceable temporary labor is lower than the cost of shutting down a lucrative production line for major repairs.
It's disgusting.
It is. So Denise, recognizing the profound danger, used her night shift access to secretly photograph maintenance reports she suspected were being altered to cover up the leak.
She was building a case for a legal clinic. But her personal life imploded before she could get there. Her apartment building was condemned. She started receiving anonymous threatening messages about her snooping, and she just panicked.
Which is completely understandable.
Yeah. With nowhere safe to hide her kids, she remembered Marcus. 6 months earlier, she had overheard him in a screaming match with a supervisor over a broken safety rail. Marcus had yelled, "If something is dangerous, you do not wait until someone gets hurt to care."
And Denise anchored her entire hope to that single sentence. In a factory built on looking the other way, she saw a man who refused to do so. In her letter, she explicitly states, "I am not asking you to save us. I am asking you not to look away."
It's such a powerful plea, but reading further into the narrative source, this is where the floor completely drops out.
Oh yeah, the twist.
Marcus looks out the lobby window at the factory. He thinks about the specific refrigeration system Denise is detailing in the letter, and then the massive twist is revealed.
Go ahead, lay it out.
Marcus knows the system is leaking. He knows the reports were altered. because he is the technician who signed the final falsified safety inspection.
Wow.
Yeah. When I hit this part of the material, I was genuinely confused. How does the moral compass of this story, the guy Denise trusts with her children's lives, turn out to be the exact person who rubber-stamped the danger?
What's fascinating here is how the narrative seamlessly integrates the realities of workplace sociology. We are conditioned by popular media to expect clear binaries, you know.
Like corrupt corporate villains and pure, untainted whistleblowers.
Exactly. But the sociological studies we're examining show that systemic corruption rarely relies on cartoonish villains. It relies on trapping decent people in impossible situations. Let's look at the mechanics of how Marcus signed that paper 6 months ago.
Please, because on paper, it just looks like he sold out his fellow workers.
Right. Well, he initially found the irregular pressure readings. He brought them to his manager, Raymond Cole, and insisted they shut down the line for 2 days to replace the valves.
So he tried to do the right thing.
He did. But Raymond is under immense pressure from upper management because they are behind on a multi-million-dollar fulfillment contract. Shutting down the line means missing the deadline. So Raymond asked Marcus to sign a temporary clearance, offering a verbal promise that they'll fix it during the off-season.
And Marcus initially refuses. Right, he sticks to his principles.
Yes, he refuses. And this is where the coercion becomes incredibly subtle and deeply sociological. Raymond doesn't scream at Marcus.
He doesn't threaten to fire him.
No, he doesn't use physical intimidation at all. Instead, Raymond quietly pulls up Marcus's attendance file.
Ah, I see.
During the months following his wife's death, Marcus had missed several shifts, arrived late, and left early to care for his grieving daughter, Nia. Technically, under strict company policy, Marcus already had enough infractions for immediate termination.
Oh, no.
So Raymond simply points to the file, slides the falsified safety form back across the desk, and says, "You have a daughter depending on this paycheck, so do what you think a responsible father should do."
That is sickeningly manipulative. He completely weaponizes Marcus's love for his child.
Precisely.
He essentially sets up a twisted ultimatum. Like, if you care more about the lungs of these temporary workers than you care about keeping a roof over your own traumatized daughter's head, don't sign the paper.
Yes, by framing it as his duty as a father, the manager flips the moral imperative upside down.
Marcus isn't a villain. He's a hostage to his own precarious circumstances.
And that is the exact mechanism by which corrupt systems perpetuate themselves. They force complicity by pitting a worker's abstract morality against their immediate biological imperative to survive and protect their kin.
It's a horrible position to be in, and the permanent repair, of course, never happened. So Marcus has been carrying the toxic guilt of that signature for half a year.
Yeah, that's a heavy burden.
But while Marcus is paralyzed by this realization of his own complicity, the immediate reality of these two freezing children snaps him back to the present.
Right, because they are sitting right in front of them.
Exactly. The most urgent puzzle isn't the factory anymore. It's where their mother went.
Right, where's Denise?
Aaliyah tells Marcus her mom went across the street to meet someone and promised to be back in 10 minutes. It's now been 2 hours.
That's terrifying for a kid.
Marcus tries calling the legal clinic attorney whose business card was in the envelope, but the attorney has no idea what he's talking about. Denise never made it to them.
So what does he do?
Recognizing the severity of the threats Denise received, Marcus involves the local police, handing over her old phone with the threatening messages. The police managed to pull security footage from a camera across the street from the factory.
And what does the footage show?
Well, the footage is chilling, but not in the way you expect. It shows Denise standing near the street corner. A car pulls up. But there are no factory goons. There's no struggle.
Oh.
Denise simply opens the door, gets into the passenger seat voluntarily, and the car drives away.
Oh, wow.
Aaliyah is watching this footage over the police officer's shoulder, and you can see her entire world shatter. She whispers, "She left us."
Oh, that poor girl.
She immediately processes the footage as abandonment, assuming that she and her little brother were simply too much for their struggling mother to handle.
The psychological notes refer to this as the false belief twist, which is deeply rooted in early cognitive development.
How does that work?
Well, up to a certain age, children are inherently egocentric, not in a selfish way, but in how they process causality. They center themselves in the narrative of their lives.
Like everything happens because of them.
Exactly. If a parent is angry, the child assumes they caused the anger. If a parent vanishes, the child assumes their own needs or behavior drove the parent away.
That is so heartbreaking.
It is. And Marcus recognizes the danger of this thought process instantly because it mirrors Naya's reaction to her mother's death from illness.
Oh, I see.
It's a child desperately trying to impose a logical reason onto a senseless tragedy, even if that reason requires blaming themselves.
It's a tragic misinterpretation because the reality of the footage is actually a profound act of sacrificial love.
What really happened?
The police run the plates of the car. It wasn't someone threatening her. It was Denise's older sister, Camille.
Ah,
Denise hadn't abandoned her kids at all. She had been running on empty for months, working multiple shifts, fighting eviction, absorbing the terror of the threats. And she had developed a severe, untreated respiratory infection, likely from those factory leaks.
oh, she was sick.
Very sick. She literally pushed her biological limits until her organs began shutting down.
She called her sister because she was physically losing her vision and was too weak to drive.
Exactly. But she lost consciousness in the passenger seat before she could articulate where she had hidden her children.
She didn't walk away. Her body just surrendered to the exhaustion of trying to protect them.
It totally redefines what abandonment looks like in the context of extreme poverty. But before Marcus can even formulate a plan to get the children to the hospital where Denise was taken, his manager, Raymond Cole, walks into the security lobby.
Oh no, the timing.
Raymond sees the police leaving, he spots the kids, and he notices the envelope with Denise's handwriting.
And he puts it together.
Instantly, the sociological power dynamics flare up. Raymond realizes exactly what Denise was trying to expose, and more importantly, that Marcus now holds the evidence.
This is a critical juncture.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Raymond pulls Marcus into a side office. And again, he doesn't act like a mob boss. He uses the exact same playbook of subtle coercion, but this time he offers a bribe perfectly tailored to Marcus's deepest vulnerabilities.
Yes, the offer is calculated with terrifying precision. Raymond offers Marcus a promotion to head of maintenance, a significant salary increase, and crucially, a permanent day shift.
A day shift.
Hmm.
That means Marcus could finally be home with Naya every evening. He could help with homework. He could be the normal, present father he has been desperate to be since his wife died.
It's everything he wants.
It is. And Raymond even throws in a concession. He promises they will finally shut down the line and fix the refrigeration leak this weekend. All Marcus has to do is maintain the status quo.
Just keep quiet.
Right. If the legal clinic or inspectors come knocking, Marcus just has to testify that the inspection report was accurate when he signed it and any leaks must have developed recently.
It's so insidious.
It is like a twisted plea deal. Raymond isn't threatening Marcus's life. He is offering him the exact stable future he has been praying for.
And Raymond crystallizes the trap with a statement that serves as the moral crucible of this entire deep dive. He looks at Marcus and says, "You are not choosing between right and wrong, Marcus. You are choosing between strangers and your daughter."
I found myself pausing the reading right there, because when you strip away the idealism, the logic is incredibly persuasive.
This raises an important question for the listener. Put yourself in that small office with Marcus. We all construct this flattering self-image where we confidently blow the whistle, stand up to the corrupt institution, and accept the applause.
Sure, we all want to be the hero.
But what if the cost of that bravery is your child's housing? What if telling the truth means failing your primary biological duty to provide security for your own offspring?
It's awful to think about.
In that hyper-specific context, does whistleblowing actually remain the moral choice, or does it become an act of parental negligence?
It's an agonizing paradox. Marcus has sacrificed his health, his sleep, and his social life for 4 years to build a tiny wall of security around Nia. Now, to do the right thing for anonymous temporary workers, he has to detonate that wall.
So what does he do?
Well, Marcus does something unexpected. He steps out of the office and calls his 11-year-old daughter.
He calls Nia.
Yeah. He doesn't burden her with the terrifying details of corporate cover-ups, but he presents the core ethical dilemma. He asks her, "Baby, if doing the right thing meant we might lose something important, would you still do it?"
It's a moment of astonishing vulnerability. The adult, trapped in a maze of rationalizations and systemic fears, defers to the uncompromised moral compass of a child.
Nia is quiet for a moment. Then she asks a very simple, clarifying question. She says, "Is somebody going to get hurt if you do not?"
Wow. Simple and direct.
Marcus looks out the lobby window again. He watches the morning shift arriving. Parents, grandparents, people grabbing coffee, just trusting that the building they are walking into won't quietly kill them. He answers, "Maybe."
And what does she say?
Nia replies without hesitation, "Then I think you already know."
That is just incredible.
It's such a powerful reversal. Marcus spent years believing his job was to shield Nia from the harshness of reality, trying to be this stoic, unbreakable fortress. But by trying so hard to protect her, he inadvertently created an environment where she grew up with a clearer sense of bravery than he had.
It demonstrates that true courage isn't the absence of fear, and it certainly isn't a lack of consequences. True courage is acknowledging the severe cost in proceeding anyway,
Absolutely.
which leads us to the climax, where the narrative source completely subverts the standard Hollywood resolution we've been trained to expect.
Oh, totally. Because Marcus hangs up the phone and refuses Raymond's offer. He contacts the attorney from the legal clinic. He hands over Denise's photographs, but he also hands over his own personal notes, explicitly admitting that the signature on the safety document was his own falsified approval.
He turns himself in, essentially.
He publicly takes responsibility for his complicity. The resulting injunction forces the factory to shut down the leaking line for an emergency state inspection.
Now, in a traditional cinematic narrative, this is the moment the triumphant music swells. The corrupt manager is marched out in handcuffs, the workers cheer, and Marcus is handed the corner office for his integrity.
Yeah, the nice tidy bow. But the reality presented in the sources is far messier and much more grounded. Marcus doesn't get a parade, he gets immediately suspended pending investigation, and shortly after, he loses his job entirely.
Of course.
And the social fallout is incredibly complicated. The factory workers are fiercely divided. Some view him as a whistleblower who saved their lungs, but others are furious with him.
Because of the shutdown.
Right. The sudden emergency shutdown means canceled shifts, which means missing paychecks for people who are already living on the edge. They have their own rent to pay, their own invisible backpacks to carry.
It forces us to acknowledge that doing the right thing rarely acts as a magic wand. It often shatters the fragile equilibrium of the present moment.
So true. Marcus returns home that afternoon, stripped of his livelihood, terrified he has just ruined his daughter's life. He sits down at the kitchen table, looks at Nia, and issues a heartbreaking apology. He says, "I'm sorry. I was trying to keep us safe."
And Nia's response forms the emotional bedrock of everything we're discussing today. She looks at her unemployed, terrified father and asks, "Are we still together?"
Yeah.
He says yes, and she replies, "Then we are not starting from nothing."
You love that line.
It completely redefines the concept of security. Especially as we age, we often think of security purely as a metric of predictable income or a steady routine or savings accounts.
Right, the practical things.
But this interaction suggests that true security is the unwavering, truthful presence of the people who love you.
Which brings us full circle to the hospital where Denise was taken. Marcus drives Aaliyah and Isaiah there because Denise has finally been stabilized and regained consciousness.
A powerful reunion, I imagine.
Very. When they enter the room, Aaliyah stands in the doorway trembling and finally asks the question that the false belief twist planted in her head. She says, "Why did you leave us?"
Oh, she still thinks her mom ran away.
Right. And Denise, fighting through the exhaustion, shatters that false belief with total honesty. She says, "I was trying so hard not to let you see how scared I was that I forgot you were already scared too."
Wow. It is the ultimate tragedy of working-class families, parents and children mutually suffering in silence, trying to protect each other from a shared reality.
It really is. But then Aaliyah asks the question that connects all the dots. She says, "Did you want somebody else to be our dad because we were too much?" This is the moment the puzzle solves itself for Marcus. This was the real reason Aaliyah asked him to pretend to be their dad in the freezing cold that morning.
It had nothing to do with her wanting a father figure to rescue her.
Not at all.
It was entirely a performance orchestrated for her 5-year-old brother. Aaliyah genuinely believed their mother had abandoned them forever, and she wanted Isaiah to wake up and see a man standing over them, just so the little boy would believe that somebody still claimed them.
That they weren't completely discarded. She just wanted him to know somebody will stay.
That is profound.
Denise pulls her daughter close and says, "You were never too much. I just had too little help."
Too little help. If there is a defining thesis for the sociological struggles of modern working families, it is that phrase.
Absolutely.
It perfectly articulates how systemic failures, like a lack of affordable childcare, dangerous working conditions, and predatory management, are constantly reframed and internalized as personal shortcomings.
But the deep dive doesn't end in the despair of that hospital room. We jump forward a year to observe the realistic aftermath. There are no magical lottery winnings or massive lawsuit payouts that fix everything instantly.
Because that's not real life.
Right. Denise utilizes the resources from the legal clinic to secure stable housing, and she eventually earns her certification as a patient care technician. The factory workers receive modest compensation for the safety violations.
And what about Marcus?
As for Marcus, he struggles significantly. The decision to blow the whistle decimated his savings, but slowly, former co-workers remember his character. They don't necessarily revere him as the grand whistleblower, but they remember the guy who stayed late to help patch a tire in the parking lot, or the guy who always shared his coffee.
Those cumulative small acts of decency build a resilient social reputation that a corporate scandal cannot easily erase.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Eventually, this network leads Marcus to a new job teaching industrial maintenance at a local vocational center. The initial pay is lower, but the hours are predictable. He can finally pick Naya up from school every day.
That's a huge victory for him.
So, what does this all mean? We reach this incredible final scene that ties everything together. Marcus is teaching an evening class on repairing hydraulic valves. Aaliyah, who is now 9 years old, walks into the back of the classroom with her brother and her mom, who are there to visit.
Oh, that's sweet.
Aaliyah walks up to Marcus and hands him that exact same plastic grocery bag from the freezing morning a year ago. It's clean now, carefully folded. Marcus smiles, confused, and says, "I think this belongs to you."
And what does she do?
Aaliyah shakes her head. She tells him to turn it over. On the back of the bag, written in fresh black marker beneath his faded name, she has written, "He fixes things people think are too broken."
Oh, I love that. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the profound lesson emerges here, especially for those of us reflecting on our own legacies.
What's the lesson?
Marcus spent his entire adult life believing his purpose was fixing physical machinery, and by extension, trying to mechanically fix his daughter's grief by shielding her from the world. But this narrative reveals that what desperately needed repairing was his own definition of fatherhood and courage.
Right, because Aaliyah tells him right there in the classroom, "You were really bad at pretending." When he asks why, she says, "Because dads are supposed to make you feel like somebody will stay."
That's it right there. For years, Marcus operated under the illusion that being a good parent meant possessing the power to prevent any hardship from ever touching his child.
Like we're supposed to be superheroes.
Exactly. He thought it meant building an impenetrable wall against every storm. But my advice, and the real takeaway of this whole analysis, is that you cannot promise a corporation won't exploit you. You cannot promise that sudden illness won't strike your family. You simply cannot promise that life won't break precious things.
That's just the reality of life.
But you can make a different, more vital promise. You can promise that when the systems break down, when the fear sets in, you will not look away. You will stay, you will tell the truth, and you will face the consequences together.
Yeah.
Those two freezing kids didn't show up at the factory that morning asking Marcus to magically fix their lives. They inadvertently brought him the one thing he was lacking.
Yeah.
The opportunity to find the courage to do what was right, even when the personal cost was devastating.
It serves as such a masterclass in moral complexity. It strips away the comforting illusion of the flawless, untouchable hero and provides us with something infinitely more valuable, a deeply flawed human being who decides to stop hiding behind his obligations and finally starts living up to them.
Beautifully said.
Which brings our exploration to a close. We started with a terrified little girl trying to manage the weight of the world outside a factory, and we unpacked a profound lesson on the immense pressure of systemic forces and the quiet, everyday courage required to push back against them.
It's an important reminder for all of us.
The undeniable truth is that we cannot promise the people we love that life won't be painful or frightening, but we can absolutely promise not to look away when the darkness comes.
Exactly.
So, here is a final provocative thought to leave you with, something to genuinely mull over as you navigate the rest of your week. Take a hard look at your own life, your workplace, or your community. Where might you currently be signing off on your own metaphorical faulty inspection? Where are you looking away from something deeply broken simply because addressing it feels too socially expensive or too professionally risky? And ultimately, if you choose to remain silent, who is carrying the invisible backpack to pay the price for that silence?